Here are some instructions to help you complete the Excel assignment for my statistics courses. Now let me bring up the instruction file. You will be answering questions on this assignment file, and you will be using information from the given in the Excel file that you will perform some commands to get more information, and you'll answer them. And then the answers will be submitted via Blackboard in a multiple choice format, so you can go in there and look at the answers even though they aren't on here on the questions, but you can find them in there, and you're allowed to go into the assignment and come back out, go back and forth. I think you have like 300 total minutes, so don't leave it sitting open for too long, or your time will run out. So if you just go in there for a few minutes and get your information, or you could take pictures of the screens, I guess that would work. So go in and you go in there and you can enter some answers at a time, but be real careful not to submit the entire assignment. I believe there should be some buttons next to each question that have something like save or whatever, but don't hit the submit in the final corner until you're ready to submit the entire thing. All right, with that, so let's so we'll come down here and let me bring up the file. In column A, you have some randomly sorted data that was generated from Excel using a normal distribution. Trying to remember what the mean and standard deviation was. Oh, here it says it in the assignment. Okay, it was 100 mean, 20 standard deviation. 200 values were generated, and not in order. So we're going to have to use the empirical rule. So go back and look up the empirical rule, which you have to use the mean and standard deviation. Now those results are given in the column, the box next to the data here where it says column 1, that you have the mean and you have the standard deviation. So go back and read the rules for the empirical rule, the three conditions, the 68%, 95%, 99%, 99.7%, excuse me. So you'll create those intervals just like I did back in class using those values. But now what we're trying to do is we're trying to see how many, from that generated data, how many values fit in the interval, the proportion. So like a percentage, so it'd be however many are in your interval out divided by 200. So we're trying to see how close they are to the empirical rule given percentages. So you go over here and let's see, I don't know why this comes up. Data and sort. It may look different depending on what version of Excel you're using, but you should be able to find the sort menu somewhere. You can always Google for instructions. A to Z going downward, smallest to largest. So there are the values. And all right. Okay, let's see. So it goes all the way down here to 200. So you have to then count how many values are in the interval after you've generated the interval, then divide by 200. And then pick the right answer for the percentage. And remember, the quickest way to count the intervals, I mentioned this in class earlier in the semester, is let's say if you were your values were between row 6 and row 15, including all between row 6 and row 15. That might be tempting to think, oh, that's 9 values, but actually it's 10 if you counted 6 all the way through 15. So the quickest way is take the largest row number, that the row that has your largest value that you want, minus the one that has the smallest value, then add 1 to that. So if it was between rows 50 and 150, that would be, subtract would be 100. You'd add 1, that would be 101. 150 minus 50 plus 1 is 101. So then you do that, and that completes those questions. That's 1 through 6. Now the next, for the set of questions, we're going to take these 15 values in F, and I give you instructions how to generate it to make it look like what's already done in column C and D for that first set of numbers. So we can go over here and put them wherever you want in column H, and for this we will need, so this you'll have, and I mentioned down there on the instructions, you'll need to get the data analysis software. It's an add-in type thing, so you'll have to add that in there if it's not already, some Excels some computers you work on will have it, some won't, but it can be added in. So it's descriptive statistics. Our input range is F1 to F15, and we want to choose summary statistics. Output range, I'll just put it like H1, and then you don't have to put an ending point there. We'll put it in H1, go like that. And of course you can resize these however you need. Stretch them out. And you see it generates the same stuff that was in column C and D for that other data. So you'll be using this to answer the next set of questions. So I just passed the pages showing you the instructions, what I just did. So you get the sample mean, you get the sample standard deviation from that output. So that's easy enough. Now confidence intervals, you're going to do a couple of T confidence intervals. So you can go look at how to do that. So that data is going to have a mean. It's going to have the standard deviation. We know what n is. N is 15. That's our data size. So to construct a confidence interval, we're going to need a critical value. So we're going to have to, and I asked for 75%. And then so you have to do a confidence interval for that. And then you'll do one for 85% using this command that I give right here. TINV1 minus whatever your confidence level is. So I'll do one that's a different, I won't do that exact value. Just pick any random cell. Remember, you're not turning this spreadsheet in. So if you mess it up, go back in there and get it again. You can just put numbers wherever you want them. So I'm going to put TINV. Let's say if it was 65% confidence, I would go 1 minus 0.65 comma 14 degrees of freedom. And that would give you the critical value that you would need to construct the confidence interval. So obviously we've done confidence intervals in class, so you can go back and look at your notes. So you do that for 85%, you do that 75%, then you do it again for 85%. So two of those questions are just getting that T value I just showed you, so those be easy. Then do the confidence interval, not too difficult. Now we're going to do a hypothesis test. So we're trying to test that the population mean and the sample data in column F is greater than 22 with a level of significance of 0.025. So for number 13, you'll have to know how to set up hypothesis test and figure out which pair of null and alternative will be correct. So you can look at the answer choices then, or you might not be a bad idea to try it before you look. And then you're going to use decision rule and rejection regions for this is Ttest. So you'll be in the Ttest section of the notes. And you'll decide what your chart value is going to be for 0.025. And calculate the test statistic, which from that same data, same descriptive statistics we just generated from that data. You've got the mean, sample mean. We have the hypothesized mean that we're testing against, which is 22. So you have everything you need to construct the t-test value. And then you decide using the information from really 15 and 14, and I guess sort of 13 also, but more 15 and 14, comparing your test statistic to the critical value, then you can decide whether or not you want to reject. Now for the last part, that's the regression analysis part of the course. And this shows what kind of output you're looking at. And my notes and in class talk about, how to read this in more detail. But notice it says do not use these numbers that are printed as an example. That's just there to show you what it's going to look like when you're done. All right, so then we come over here and we're using the information from K and L. K is basically your X and L is your Y. So K is your independent variable, Y is your dependent variable. So we'll do a data analysis again. And this time we want regression analysis. Now it's a little tricky because they put the Y range first, but that's, let's see how many values, L1, no, excuse me, L, how far should be, yeah, not L1 to, well, if you include the labels, I guess. So I'll say L1 to L, and I'm sure the instructions say this, L17, that's for that's the Y's. And then the X's are K1 to K17. So I'm checking the box for labels to indicate, so that way it will know that the top value is a label. Output range, we can just pick any cell that we want to start it in down here just to get it out of the way. I'm going to say L20. But it does, like I say, you're not presenting this to turn in, so you're just getting the information from it. So put it wherever you want, whatever makes you happy. So come down here and okay, you can spread the columns out a little bit if you like. And then, so here's that information. So you generate that, and then from what we learn in class and what's in my notes, from this output right here, you can then answer every question from there. 17, 18, 19, and 20 can all be answered from that output. And then when you've got all of your answers ready and to put in Blackboard, get them all in there and do not submit till you're ready. And then that's basically it. That's the end.